Woohoo! Hello everybody. Manchester United have beaten Man City 2-1 in the Manchester derby. Fascinating game of football, and we need to be honest about that equaliser. We need to talk about that equaliser. We will get there, but let's start at the beginning in terms of the lineups and just generally the sort of first thoughts in terms of, as I was watching the game, I was actually struggling to sort of articulate how this game was going, because it was your sort of traditional derby. But it was clearly an evolution from Man United in terms of how they want to defend. What is the right word here? Let me know in the comments down below. Was it cagey? Was it rope-a-dope from Man United? I don't think any of these worked. It wasn't scrappy, but it was a little bit scrappy. It had its moments. It had everything you kind of wanted from a derby in terms of a little bit of needle there, a few tasty challenges, some that got sort of unrewarded or unpunished, I guess is more the word. But it was an odd one, wasn't it? Because Man City weren't totally at it. And Man United were careful, let's say. But I think the credit there goes to Ten Hag. Man City, the bottom line is with Man City is there is not that zip. There isn't that zip in their play. There isn't that pace in their play. But that said, with the best teams, generally you look to sort of wear them down in the second half. There might be a first half where look, a few of the passes are misplaced, you don't look like you want to look, but in the second half of those games, you wear down the opposition and you get the job done. That's what the best teams do, and that's what Man City were doing for a hell of a long time. And you thought that was the case. I thought that was the case in this one, because it was one where Man City weren't great, but what did occur in the second half was, first of all, Phil Foden came off. And let's talk about Phil Foden for a second, because I think tactically, he's struggling a little bit with this Man City side. It feels like he's just out there on the left-hand side a little bit on his own. He's not really getting involved enough. The focus is a lot more down the right-hand side than it has been in previous seasons for Man City. Generally, before, it was always about that overload on the left-hand side. And although they are moving that way, and this lineup for Man City, it felt like, despite Guardiola saying earlier in the week, we're going to revert, I've got these ridiculous ideas, I felt like they reverted to type. I thought they went back to... You saw that team and you go, oh, okay, no, exactly what you're doing. Walker on the right, Cancelo on the left. Oh, and Cancelo as a left-back, I think, is just so much better than on the right-hand side, personally, because he ends up playing a higher position. And then you just lack a bit of dynamism and true pace on that right-hand side. And he gets in the way of De Bruyne, in my opinion. So him on the left-hand side worked. And Foden, if you think of those big games against, say, Liverpool in the past, he is electric. He does have those moments, right? But he is really, really struggling, and no one's really talking about it at this moment in time. I spoke about it in my reaction to the Chelsea game. Again, just feels like he's out there on his own a little bit and unable to get involved. Tactically, what was so interesting, and we will, I'm sure, dive into this in probably more detail when we get to the fallout on Monday. Haaland, a way of getting around that first half lineup, which when it came to Man United, Fred, of course, played in midfield. Fred was there to stop Kevin De Bruyne. And it was really smart from Erik Ten Hag, because it was a sort of calculated half press, more of a mid-block really. And you had Eriksen utilising every last drop of his intelligence from a defensive point of view. A front four there in that press in terms of Martial, who just he either didn't look fit or he didn't look interested. And it's a Manchester derby, I'll be amazed if he didn't look interested, although he does sometimes look uninterested. Bruno Fernandes working hard on that right-hand side to try and stop Nathan Ake getting the ball to Cancelo, and Rashford, of course, on that left-hand side. And then a sort of straight match-up in terms of Fred keeping an eye on De Bruyne. But what they didn't do, but also what Man City struggled to solve, was feeding the beast, or feed the train. Because Haaland, I thought what was smart was that Haaland dropped so deep. Haaland dropped so deep to at times allow Man City to get around the press or to bring forward the centre-backs to dislodge it that little bit. And Varane and Shaw at different moments weren't sure how to deal with it. Did they follow him? Did they let him go? If I let him go, are we going to be in trouble here? Because everyone else has got their man, made up, if you know what I mean. But the problem was, for me, with Man City, a team that obviously plays with, great passing ability and takes their time and then kicks into gear. Haaland was playing those passes, getting involved, and then making that spin and starting to make those moves. And he is a train, right? And they were never playing that pass to him, ever. that was a real mistake, in my opinion. The inability to kind of, and I know it's so tough in a game of that tempo in the first half of it, but to at times sometimes just play that ball into Haaland in behind when he was making those runs. You could see the frustration that he was having. And it does feel like, in terms of creation, apart from Kevin De Bruyne, there's not a huge amount going on, and everything is in front of the opposition right now. I thought Man United did really well in terms of that sort of half press, dealing with what came in after that. Luke Shaw had a good game on the left-hand side. Malacia was sort of cracking into Mahrez, should have got far, far sooner. And in the first half, despite only having 30-odd% possession, I think Man United would have been really happy, because when they were getting the ball, they looked effective. They were looking to break, and it was one of those where they didn't really want the ball. And I think that shows a huge difference in terms of what Erik Ten Hag has done for Man United in terms of moving them forwards. Because under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, though they had a great record against those top six sides, it was very sort of stunted, and they didn't really have too much going on. And although it's a sort of gentle tweak, and yes, it was counter-attacking football, it was with a lot more thought, and it was almost proactive defending, far more proactive than you've certainly seen against Man City in the last few years. And he's obviously learnt a lot from that game earlier in the season, but also Man City have definitely regressed. Definitely regressed. Second half, though, it did feel like Man City were kind of wearing them down. The word I have with this one, in terms of when it was starting to work for them, was flow. Because I think Grealish came in, Bernardo Silva and Grealish seemed to work a little better because he's able to kind of work around him, Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva doesn't have that sort of direct running that, say, someone like Gundogan seems to be able to do and time his runs. You took what Kyle Walker, and he played a lot more central, which allowed De Bruyne a lot more space on that right-hand side. And De Bruyne did what De Bruyne does, which is just be class. Do you know what I mean? Like, step up. You know, a lot of talk about Odegaard and KDB at the moment. Tomorrow, in a game like that, when you need that little bit more, that's where Odegaard needs to step up if he wants to be at De Bruyne's level. And De Bruyne certainly did that. Haaland, people will go after because he didn't score in this game, and that's literally how he works. But there were a couple of opportunities, and in fact, the goal is Man City full stop. It does feel like it's De Bruyne looking for Haaland, and then there's not a huge amount going on aside from that. And if you look at, there was a chance for Bernardo Silva who didn't time his run, but De Bruyne played the ball to the back post, which he's been doing all season long, and Haaland's been gobbling it up. And there was a moment Bernardo Silva misses a header, and Haaland's there ready to get it, but Bernardo Silva's in his way, and Haaland timed his run. And then obviously about 5-6 minutes later, the same thing happens, but this time Grealish is in the way and Haaland doesn't get his goal, but Grealish, of course, scores that goal. And then you expect them to be able to manage the game. Let's get to the main part of it now, because I did look at that Man United bench and I thought, you got 3 centre-backs there, McTominay, not a lot going forward to help change the game. Anthony came on at half-time for Martial, who, again, I presume was injured. Rashford, who looked like he was injured, didn't he? Thought he wasn't going to be able to play the game, ends up playing the whole game. But it then comes down to this moment. And here we go. This is probably where you clicked on the video. I've titled it what I've titled it because you have to. Now, on YouTube, there's a lot of Man United fans. There's a lot of Arsenal fans. And a lot of people who want Man City to do badly. And not too many Man City fans knocking about, I'll be honest. But you have to be honest. Like that my job here is not just to pander to these teams. And again, Man United fans will be like, could not care less if this is offside or not. And I could not care less, James, if you think it's offside or not. But let's be honest, Man City have been absolutely robbed when it comes to that first goal. You can give me letter of the law all you like and interference all you like. All you like. The bottom line is, go and watch that goal again. That pass, Akanji is making a run as a defender and he is tracking his man. He sees his man's offside and he lets him go. And when you let him go, you stop. And so even though Rashford doesn't touch the ball and there might be this element of letter of the law, I think elsewhere in refereeing, we are starting to see referees go, that's not enough. There was a moment where I think Mahrez didn't get a free kick right on the edge of the box, which he could have given. But it wasn't enough and he was kind of on his way down. And that allows you to sort of have that moment of interpretation and understand the flow of the game, which is something that gets thrown at referees all the time. And I'm the first to say that referees get things wrong or get things right. And I like this road we're going down in terms of common sense. But that is not a goal. That has to be given offside. Because if you watch it again and you look at the pass is made and Akanji would have stopped that pass. If he's tracking Rashford, if Rashford is onside and is making the same run, is he 1 yard behind and he's making that exact same run, Akanji is running with him and there will be some kind of duel. Either Akanji goes and wins the ball or Rashford touches the ball because he would be onside. So the fact that Akanji stops, he is thus interfering with play. I don't like, people will try and spin it, but what? But there is no doubt in my mind, this nonsense about, okay, well, Rashford didn't touch the ball, so it doesn't matter. Well, then you don't know how to watch football, in my opinion. Because Akanji's movements, Akanji's decisions are based on the fact that he knows Rashford's offside. That's good defensive play, and that changes the game. Absolutely changes the game. And look, again, I will reiterate, for Man United fans, couldn't care less. If it was QPR, I couldn't care less. But you've got to accept, I think you have to accept what's a correct decision and an incorrect decision. And what makes it more outrageous is that it goes to VAR. It goes to VAR and they still don't accept that understanding of the environment of defensive play. I think it's, let's be honest, I think it's an absolute shambles. Absolute shambles that Man City haven't got that. Look, Man United hung in there and they were wilting a little bit. But this is the thing. It was a bit like the Arsenal game earlier in the season. As much as the opposition have the ball, again, space versus possession, we talk about it all the time. They are really great on the counter-attack. I thought, and to a man, you kind of work your way through the team. Some really, really strong performances. I thought Eriksen was fantastic. Just so smart. The weight of his passing is wonderful. I thought Bruno Fernandes had a really, really good game. Great finish for him as well. Rashford, continues to affect the game and score goals. And so what more can you say when it comes to that element of it? Malacia was getting at them. Luke Shaw, that's a brave decision from Erik Ten Hag. He could have gone safe and gone with a recognised centre-back, but Luke Shaw's been fantastic in that position. And so it was fair for him to take that position, especially going up against Haaland. You would have thought he might have struggled. And do you know what? Aaron Wan-Bissaka I thought was fantastic as well. Really, really good. But the pressure on that side is not the same pressure as it was. And actually, Wan-Bissaka generally does really, really well for them. It's turning into a bit like a Leicester City season. I've got to be honest, because something's not right at Man City. And the thing I tweeted it at half-time is they are, and you can talk about Wan-Bissaka pocketing Sterling in the past. Yes. But that ability to have another player to go in behind, that is something that they are struggling with a little bit. And as you can't kind of say, oh, they're worse with Haaland, but they have a clearer focal point. And he is the guy that they're going to and looking for all the time. Whereas they were so fluent previously. Even someone like Gabriel Jesus in a game like this, in terms of having another runner to go in behind, because there were moments where Foden could have done it when Haaland dropped deep, but he wasn't making those runs. So you've got a guy who's kind of out of form, and not enough rotation in terms of players who can run beyond. Grealish is going to come inside, but Silva doesn't have that zip. And they're being found out a little bit. They're generally able to wear teams down with the quality that they've got, and that's where the goal came from. But it is getting to a point where it's De Bruyne looking to play a pass to the back post, and hopefully you'll find Haaland, but if not, find someone else. Something's wrong at Man City massively. And Erik Ten Hag is doing wonderfully and deserves credit. But this isn't the Man City from the start of the season. This isn't the Man City from last season. I think they missed someone like Gundogan and him as well. His intelligence in terms of his runs as well. Something's not right at Man City right now. And the longer this goes on and the further Arsenal get ahead, then, the more likely they are to lose that crown as champions. But let's have it right. Bottom line, offside. Clearly offside. I'm sure you're going to let me know in the comments down below why I'm wrong and if I'm wrong. And so be it. I would certainly read it and I'll keep an open mind. And if I've got this wrong, then fair play. But I truly don't believe that I did. And I have. And it's one of those where I think you've got to understand the movement of the whole, what's the word? Of the game. Struggling with words in this one. So I'm going to go. If you enjoyed this one, hit the like button, subscribe. Oh, I'm going to be on Twitch tomorrow watching the game. So if you want to look at the tactical elements of it whilst the game's going on, you want to send stuff my way as well, that would be great. Head over to Twitch. It's my name, James Allcott, and I'm going to be watching the game, obviously, from about 4:30, maybe a little bit earlier as well, for a bit of pre-ramble or preamble. I'm doing it again, aren't I? Love you lots. Goodbye.